This is Russia and China. While most European countries and the United States have slandered Putin's decision to invade Ukraine, China has grown in prominence and has reaped the benefits of the invasion. However, Russia has been pushed to the brink as a result of the president's decision, which has caused a slew of complications. The unprecedented sanctions imposed by the Western world in response to Russia's attack on Ukraine are causing regional turbulence that also affects Russia's ally, China. Has Putin's invasion reset China's global power? How will the whole saga affect China? Watch till the end of this video to find out. While both Russia and China have shown mutual understanding on the international stage in their efforts to destabilize Western hegemony, Russia's invasion of Ukraine has given China some buffer time. In this setting, China stands to gain a lot because the world is focused on Russia. Raffaello Pantucci, a senior associate fellow at the Royal United Services Institute, a British think tank, thinks this will relieve some of the pressure China is facing. The Russian attack on Ukraine has heightened tensions in international alliances, underscoring China's potential as a difficult actor on the global stage. However, because it is not Russia, Pantucci continues, it can be viewed as a benign actor. The Ukraine crisis may also allow China to relax a little in the Indo-Pacific region, which is crucial for China's new political and economic competition with the West. Obviously, this will threaten the United States, which already prides itself on being the world's leading power. The US, the UK, and Australia recently formed the AUKUS. It is an anti-China military alliance focused on the Indo-Pacific region under the leadership of Washington. The three nations are committed to forming a bulwark against China's ambitions to become the sole Asian superpower and expand its repression beyond its borders. However, given the situation in Ukraine, China's ruling Communist Party may hope that the AUKUS group's impetus is weakened as well, according to Charlie Parton, the EU's former first counselor on China. In addition to the distracting factor, which is very positive for China in the long run, Pantucci believes Russia's attack on Ukraine will strengthen Beijing's grip on Moscow. When negotiating contracts and agreements with China, Russia will find itself in a weaker bargaining position, Pantucci predicts. Without its other allies, Russia will be powerless to resist the PRC's, People's Republic of China, geopolitical and economic intrusions in Siberia, Central Asia, the Arctic, India, and other future potential hotspots. In the end, how things are progressing right now is very favorable for China. Suppose you critically examine the entire situation presented to China by Putin's invasion of Ukraine. In that case, you will see that China will reap significant economic benefits. According to Charlie Parton, who has years of experience and expertise in China after spending 22 years of his 37-year diplomatic career in the UK Foreign Office working on the Asian giant, the ongoing Russian offensive will positively and negatively affect China. Under intense US pressure, which has even imposed a ban on Russian gas and oil imports, Russia will be forced to sell even more oil, gas, and other commodities to the People's Republic of China. Parton explains in a paper published on March 3rd that this will make it easier for the PRC to lower the price, citing an economic benefit for China. As an isolated country, Russia's imports of goods and equipment from China may increase due to Western sanctions. China accounted for 22% of Russian imports of goods and equipment in 2019, while the EU accounted for 37% of imports to China. As a result, China's share of Russian imports is likely to increase significantly. According to the trade map of the International Trade Center, a joint agency of the World Trade Organization and the United Nations, Russia imported $73 billion worth of products from China in 2021, according for roughly a quarter of the value of Russia's total imports. According to the International Trade Center, Russia exported $68 billion worth of goods to China last year, accounting for roughly 14% of the country's total exports. Russia is China's primary resource supplier, including petroleum and wood. Meanwhile, China is Russia's top supplier of electrical appliances, with mobile phones and other telecommunication technologies leading the way. Automobiles are another important category of Chinese imports for Russia. According to the China Association of Automobile Manufacturers, Russia was the third largest destination for Chinese automobile exports last year. According to Chinese automobile analysts, since European car makers such as Volkswagen and BMW have halted local production in China due to the country's sanctions, Chinese players such as Geely and Chery may have the chance of a lifetime to expand their market share in Russia. Before we continue, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, TechnoGlobal Innovations. Let's get back to the video. How will the Russia-Ukraine saga affect China? China isn't the world's largest economy when measured by GDP. The United States still owns the throne. Nonetheless, China is increasingly seen as the world's dominant economic superpower by people worldwide. Aside from Russia, the Chinese economic growth has seen different countries dancing to China's business strategy. And with the US alliance, it is safe to assume they see China as a close rivalry and a threat to their throne as the world's largest economy. In a Pew Research Center poll conducted in August 2020, 48% of people in 14 countries identified China as the world's leading economic power, surpassing the United States. More than half of 8 European countries polled, including the United Kingdom, thought China was the world's most powerful economy. This reveals the growing importance of EU-China economic ties, even as the bloc continues grappling with how to defend liberal democratic values while dealing with Beijing. Chinese Cross-Border Interbank Payment System, CIPS, an alternative funding tool for moving from the US dollar to the Chinese yuan, is another potential benefit of Russia's bloody adventure. The ruble suffered a loss of ground because the US government froze Russia's central bank assets. Russia may be forced to join the CIPS, which will help China's global financial ambitions. However, records from the past have a role to play in this. China and Russia have managed to work together on trade de-dollarization. These objectives are likely to diverge, slowing further de-dollarization. Russia is pushing forward with proposal to de-dollarize international trade and transactions, but China is hesitant on both fronts. The dollar still dominates over 3.5% of Russia's imports from China, and Chinese banks are uncertain about joining the SPFS. It's unclear how far China will go to support Russia's de-dollarization agenda. China is a country that is constantly trying to build and grow its economy. So with the opportunity presented by Putin's stance and ambition to conquer Ukraine, China might be willing to reconsider and let go of some challenges it will face and accept the de-dollarization notion. This is a clear opportunity for China to grow its global economic relevance. Some experts believe the war will disrupt Chinese trade with Ukraine, which is expected to increase from a low base of $8.25 billion to approximately £6.19 billion in 2020. Others believe that Ukraine will have no option but to continue trading with China, which will provide another massive benefit to Beijing. Regardless of the outcome of the invasion, it is clear that China has been given an easy path to achieving its global financial goals. According to some experts, a dragging offensive has some impact on China. China is concerned about a dragging Russian military operation in Ukraine. This could be one of the reasons why China is stepping up its efforts to find a peaceful solution to the conflict. China has previously emphasized its principles of territorial integrity and non-interference in the affairs of other sovereign countries, specifically mentioning Ukraine. The Russian attack has clearly broken these rules. An observer of the Russian-Ukraine conflict thinks China does not want to be seen as taking sides in the battle. Mainly, its official stance is to support sovereign rights and oppose unilateral action by powerful states. A protracted Russian assault could cost China vital economic interests in the United States and Europe. As the war progresses, the advantage to disadvantage balance shifts against China. They must be extremely concerned about trade and investment disruptions. Parton believes that the longer China remains on the fence or appears to be supporting Moscow, the more liberal democracies will flip against it, politically and economically. However, China could face a nightmare scenario if Putin is deposed, according to Parton. Then, it would be determined by where Russia went. If it became more democratic and Western-oriented, as is the Russians' natural state, remember, they are Europeans, not Asians, Beijing would lose an ally. A change in government in Russia would also worry China, but the odds of that happening are slim. As a result, he adds, they are not overly concerned. But because words are rocks to the Chinese, publicly supporting Russia will be a breach of their sovereignty rights stance. This will keep China on a knife's edge. The Russian attack had already put China in a difficult position because before the conflict, a Sino-Russian close collaboration against the Western alliance was developing. According to Melvin, the invasion unites the Western community, which will challenge China, seeking to sever ties between Europe and the United States. Some experts continue to argue that the war is raising serious concerns about the cost of China's relationship with China. They believe Putin did not inform Xi of Russia's intention to launch a war in Ukraine, and Chinese intelligence appears to be unaware of Moscow's plans. Because this is a whispered conversation, their assumptions may be incorrect. They believe that both, however, raise concerns about Sino-Russian relations. These tensions are likely to rise as the war progresses. China will provide assistance to Russia, but it will not be able to replace Western markets and investment in Russia. China appears to be threading a fine line between maintaining good relations with Russia and refusing to support the war. However, the direct impact of the invasion on China will be a rise in oil prices. It is no secret that China, the world's second largest economy, will suffer. They are one of many countries whose oil supply is reliant on Russia. As it does not appear that everything will go electric by the end of 2022, China will be forced to deal with the looming oil challenges. Another threat that China will have to deal with is food security. China, which the Communist Party rules, must feed the world's largest population. As a result, Beijing must prioritize food security. In this regard, the Ukraine crisis concerns China greatly because Kyiv, the world's fifth largest wheat exporter and 16% of global grain, accounts for roughly 30% of Beijing's corn imports. If food prices rise due to Ukraine's inability to produce as much grain as it used to, China will be affected. Everyone's prices will rise as a result. With the situation presented by Putin's invasion of Ukraine, China is on a knife's edge. It is a golden opportunity to intensify the rivalry for global power between China and the United States. Still, the Chinese will be forced to deal with some unwelcome challenges. Power and money are on the table, but Chinese integrity and food security may be jeopardized. What will China's stance be on the matter? We all rely on the passage of time to answer that question. If you like this video about how Putin's invasion has reset China's global power forever, then make sure to watch any of the videos on our YouTube channel, TechnoGlobal Innovations.